Gundam fight all set! Ready, go!
Hello, folks, and welcome to the Mechpit chat for August 3rd, 2026. Got it one. How we doing, folks? Welcome, welcome. It is going wonderful here. Hard to believe that August is already here. July is come and gone. America's birthday month is passed us by. And so now we have to kind of settle in and make do with as we slowly get ready for the tail end of summer and getting into the fall. What a time it's been. What a week it's been. I'm doing pretty good here. I want to, of course, first and foremost, say hello and thank you to Vince Womack as he's dropping all my links there. Thank you, buddy, as you're dropping links for all those places I wind up all over the place. And this guy too, who we got to make sure we can bump and poke and remind him that he is missed, and at the end of the day, should we just have some fun and talk and get back to basics? We need a bug T-shirt until he comes back to the internet. Come back to us, T-shirt. We miss you. Sup, DJ Ronnie G. It's been a pretty good little week, and I do apologize. Last week I was just sort of feeling kind of so I cut early, went to bed, and sort of rolled over and got back to it. But that's the way these things go. Sometimes you have that up, you have that down. It all happens in between, and you make the most of it. But oh boy, what a weekend it's been. Spider-Man hit was just like crazy big. I still haven't seen it, which is crazy considering they're talking about what it was already hitting like $1 billion. Totally not because it's Monday. Listen. All right, you just gotta accept the fact that that Mondays are part of the week. And you have to learn to appreciate it. Are you not relaxed from the weekends? Have you not had a chance to be good to yourself, take care, to talk hard, get away from work, do all that stuff? I know I sure did. I got out. I went down to the Warhammer shop. I buying a box of oh shoot. I buying some Emperor's Children stuff for the girlfriend, and I got yet another cow suit for myself. It's totally worked out. But I digress. It was kind of interesting. Like I cut out early last week, and I feel like I sort of missed a lot of news that had happened, and so I feel like I got to do a little bit of a catch up on some things, right? And there's all kinds of little announcements that came along that I missed, and it's kind of funny because it seems like as we get a few brands that are kind of falling off, we're losing a lot of their significance, a lot of that attention. Other ones are rising up. And for all that we've complained and talked about, say Star Wars and its colossal failure, Warhammer was there to pick up the pieces and sort of take over a throne that was abandoned. And for the longest time, it felt like a super protective IP to where people weren't able to go in and have some fun with it. But it does feel like now we're starting to get more of that. You're starting to see more of that fun with the setting where we're seeing these little collaborations. And that upcoming Helldivers bundle is one of those things that's kind of got me sitting here thinking, maybe I should reinstall. Which, for all things considered, it's pretty standard, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. Just a couple of new weapon skins, but damn if it doesn't look good. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, here let me go ahead and pull that up for you, boys. I have. Oh wait, hey, no worries. if you're just alternative universes, Starship Troopers. Yeah, basically. I mean, they both kind of are. Helldivers, Warhammer. It was looking pretty good, and sure enough, we're getting more of that here. It's kind of got me. I'm thinking, I kind of want to have a little bit of fun. Maybe I'll maybe I'll go pull out the 3D printer, print out a couple of some troopers, have some fun, and fight for democracy. And, everyone needs a new sniper. Oh, see, I didn't even know these walkers were a thing. Like, has that always been a part of the games? Because I saw these in the trailer and I was thinking, like, when did this get added? Did I just never fight the robots enough to ever see these? Like, it's a totally new piece of tech. The little AT-AT walker here that I've just never recognized. Or I've never noticed. Okay, factory. See, it's a model I never got a chance to see, and the one other thing that sort of comes to mind is in the scheme of things when we have everything going on with all the PlayStation debacles where they're like really trying to piss people off. I'm enjoying this. I'm liking the game still, but I'm thinking like I don't know if I necessarily want to put money back in Sony's pockets, but I've already bought the game, so maybe. Oh, sorry. Before I forget, uh, hey Patty, long time no see.
Hello!
I thought about this. I should have gone and gotten my White Dwarf Summer shirt, man.
No,
I could have had the 25. You could have the 26.
Well, luckily I'm representing both, as the 25 version is like right behind me there.
Ooh,
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah, I really like this one. I was told that I accidentally drew Michael Dale. If you guys are familiar with DLSD25 on Twitter, Michael Dale, one of the biggest TTRPG guys that you can follow. And who doesn't love goth roller babes? So really like the design this year. And then we had Tarm Hell, artist extraordinaire for the deck of many triggers that Neckbeardia, Guardbro, and I and some other really amazing people put together, as well as like just constant hand-drawn meme react artists. So really, really cool stuff. Really great developments with White Dwarf Summer coming along in 2026.
There you go. Sorry, I just had to step off just briefly there because
hey, oh my goodness. And look at you with the deck of many triggers. Very nice. Dude, if given enough time, I could have made like 1,000 cards for the deck of mini triggers, but there was a cutoff point where it was just like, we have to put this thing to print.
Yeah, it was such a fun concept, and the funny thing is, I've shown this to people who you might kind of where I never quite know which way they're going to go, and they seem to kind of have fun with it. And I'm like,
Good.
I gotta kind of be careful here because some of these are like, I don't know if I should necessarily show this one or that one on screen.
Dude,
That one's got tits.
Tarmel did amazing artwork, and there was a point where we were like kind of in between artists, and we didn't really know how to proceed. And I was like, it was and still am like knee deep in commission work and such. But I was like, for the good of the deck. And then Tarmel was like, no, I got it, and he did all of it like a champ. And I mean, I couldn't be more proud of our work that we put together in on that, and to call Tarmel a friend and have him be part of White Dwarf Summer as well. But vegan cats.
Whenever this card is drawn, all cats in the surrounding region become obsessed with consuming vegan adventurers. They relentlessly stalk and hunt down any vegans in the party. Once captured, the cats will take their time to play with their food before devouring it.
Nice. I can't remember if they credited who came up with each card on the card, or if we put an inset in there. But I know, man, some of it's kind of a blur to me. I'm still waiting on my deck. James was like waiting to send me my deck because he was going to send me, along with the other creators like Diversity and Dragons and Girdbro and Red Room and all them. So we ordered a bunch of extra decks just in case some people's boxes or cards got messed up in post. And so we waited a certain amount of time just to make sure that there were no damages, nobody needed any replacements, or things get lost in post. And now we've got a couple of decks left over, and James is supposed to be sending those out soonish.
I've always been great. I've always been grateful with James, because whenever I ordered anything from him, he would always wind up inevitably throwing in something extra, like, oh, here's an extra model or something he kind of happens to have on hand. So it was always kind of nice to work with him. And even if there was a delay, I know I was going to get the product eventually. And in the end, he kind of made it worth my money, because I would get like a giant like frost. I would get like some kind of like fire giant as an additional little mini thrown in, or for example.
Nice. But I think I interrupted you. I think you were ranting about PlayStation. So do you want to catch me up on
yes. That? Okay. So to make a long story short, PlayStation is basically trying to fast forward to no more disc, to go all digital with their game consoles, which they have told us is happening in about 2 years. And so it's riled up a whole bunch of people in the whole gaming industry, fans of the gaming scene, where everyone is talking about this. And it's like, well, some of the unique propositions that were there are basically going away. It's like, well, what do you, aside from having a couple of exclusives, it's like, well, now that you're basically just telling me build a PC.
Right. Well, what do you feel about stores like Steam and Good Old Games? Because I don't do a lot of PC gaming, because I'm a dirty Mac boy, because I'm a retarded creative. So I got pigeonholed into that from birth. It's not my fault. But
yes, I'm a creative. Yes, I have autism. No, those aren't related.
Right. My mom took a bunch of Tylenol when I was in utero. But I've been downloading like a lot of free games that Steam and Good Old Games have been given. And I've been a fan of Good Old Games ever since they did the there was a debacle, and it was like right after I got back from deployment. And it was something about like shall not be forgotten, or they misused a hashtag, and basically everyone was like, oh, well, screw you guys because you didn't fall in line, blah blah blah. And I checked them out, and I've got a few games that actually run on my Mac through Good Old Games, and they've got this kind of deal where it's like our games are DRM free. When you own them, you own them. What do you think the answer to that is? I mean, is that the acceptable medium?
Well, if the inevitable reality is at some point we are going to wind up without physical games, like I get it. Like, look, I've basically made the full conversion over to Steam myself, but I also use services like GOG, and like you said, the DRM free thing is a big selling point.
Right.
For example, the thing that got me to initially jump over was because GOG had given the unique proposition that if you happen to own The Witcher 3 on any platform, they would give you a free copy on GOG. I looked at it and said, okay, let me go check you out. And yeah, now it is in my regular rotation of companies I buy from. And like you were saying with that DRM free thing, it is such a big game changer. I have a hard drive just full of like game installers for games I have bought from GOG that I know no matter what, if the internet goes down, I can reinstall Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Nice.
I can reinstall Warcraft 2. And they have been doing so much for game preservation that makes them worth and warranting support.
Right. Yeah, I think my first one, I believe, I want to say I picked up. They were giving away Neverwinter Nights, for Mac, and that's what got me to check them out. And then that happened, and I believe I bought Brutal Legend from them. I bought because at the time I was using my Microsoft Surface for all my drawing rather than an iPad. And I loved my Surface. I used Sketchable. It was good enough. It wasn't a gaming powerhouse. Like I had to run Brutal Legend, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I never even got to finish it. But I have to run it all the way down low. I was able to play through Vampire the Masquerade after having not finished it. I rented it from Hollywood Video when I was a younger lad. Never got to finish it. I got Vampire the Masquerade from them, and I thought it was really cool that they had like the community mod like as a part of the installer, so you could play the game like one click go. Because I'm kind of a retard, so it was very important to me that worked.
You gotta be careful. You say Vampire the Masquerade one too many times, and like it's suddenly someone's Grimmin t-shirt.
I would love to see T-shirt. Twig's been on a hiatus for a little bit, and
he's like I love the band, but I feel like there was a lack of communication that could have been done better.
He's busy.
But that all kind of went for me. That all kind of went down at about the same time where my grandfather passed away, and so obviously I was so distracted with other stuff. But GOG has been fantastic for that. The fact that they have mod support right built in, like you could go download Fallout London if you happen to own Fallout 4 and play through that whole entire game.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for guys like me because I all of the different plates that I'm juggling, having a one-stop shop, so to speak, where I can go and I could download the game and get the mods that I need for it to work or to extend the life of my favorite games. Because sometimes learning new games is kind of a pain in the butt when it's like not even a tertiary hobby. Like I play video games because I did it when I was younger, but these days I feel like I ingest video games more vicariously, not even as like watching streamers so much as like seeing the news as I scroll through. I mean, all of the accounts on X that tangentially talk about all sorts of culture, whether that's movies, comics, video games, and so I kind of get like the trickle in, and I'm oftentimes playing catch up on as to like what's actually going on. So the PlayStation thing, I remember when I was younger, and I stopped supporting PlayStation because it was right around the time that Mortal Kombat, the 2009 one came out. and I was all riding high because PlayStation didn't require a monthly membership fee to use their servers to play online. So I was like, ha, you filthy Xbox late players, you got to pay for it. And I just get to ride coattails. But then they had like this massive data breach. And so they were like, PSN was like, oh, well, we had this data breach. And it's basically because we can't afford to keep updating servers. So that way we can make ourselves resilient to hackers. So in order to make ourselves more resilient to hackers, now we're going to start charging like a yearly fee, and then it became a monthly fee. And like at that point, I was like, I'm done. I can't keep up with all of the updates and such.
It's kind of the same story. I still did eventually wind up buying a PlayStation 4, but I bought it used, and even then, I was basically going full time at my job. I had just kind of started out there, and I basically didn't really have time to use it much. It became more a Blu-ray player for me than anything, which is really silly because like, hey, Sony is known for their media players. The PS1 was one of the best CD players around at the time, and if with them going away from that, it's like, well, Sony's getting away from some of their bread and butter. Well, like they kind of don't need me as a customer anymore.
Well, I mean, so what do you think about the like the chip shortage? If not having a disk drive, but let's say best case scenario, Sony wakes up one day and they're like, man, we're losing a lot of market share. The best thing that we could do is allow people to like do the GOG platform style where you get to keep the installers on a separate hard drive and be able to play the games offline. If it made the PlayStation cheaper with the cost of like hard drives and RAM and all that skyrocketing these days, do you think that would make the player base happy, or do you think it's just too far?
Well, the problem is it's all coming at a time where basically Sony has been strongly pushing this, like they've been kind of ushering this in. When all the console shortages happened during all the pandemic stuff, they were more heavily pushing the disc-free versions. So they were slowly setting the stage because this was ultimately going to be the plan, because then it means they could eliminate used games. No, you can't buy a used copy of this game anymore. So they get to keep the full price of that. Ain't no.
Kitty cat.
And then on top of that, once they control the market, they get to control when and how the sales come. Where if there's no place else for those games to go, you can only buy it from them. Well, then they get to choose when and how you have those sales, which is no different than the way like Nintendo operates, where you're lucky to get a $10 discount on even some of their best-selling games. Like, oh, what's this? We sold through, like back when the GameCube era, like they used to have the greatest hits where like, oh yeah, Mario Galaxy's been out for like 2-3 years. Now we'll put out a copy of the game that's for $20. It's like they're not going to do that anymore.
I remember that. Yeah, I got pretty black-pilled because I instead of buying new games, because I just generally don't buy new games, I do have like that Nintendo subscription. So I was like that's pretty lame, like whatever. I don't understand it, but it does give me access to the emulators. And I was like, oh yeah, that'll tide me over because now I can share the games of my youth with my kids. And I don't have to like go learn how to solder chips onto my GameCube to make it happen. But then I logged in one day and it was like, oh, play Pokemon Fire Red. And I'm like, oh, well, that's sweet. So I boot up the Game Boy Advance emulator and it's nowhere in there. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did not just inception Pokemon Fire Red into my brain. It's there. And then, no, you don't get Pokemon Fire Red as a part of your Nintendo subscription with your Game Boy Advance emulator. You have to buy it separately. And I'm like, why would I do like this game is not that important to me. Not like Perfect Dark or Turok, but Yeah, I was kind of like that. Just seems like a given because you're actively coming out with new Pokemon games for which the formula hasn't changed much. Like the fact that you think you're going to get away with charging me, I can't remember, but I think they were charging like $30 for Leaf Green, Fire Red, and I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Which gets into the whole topic of with Pokemon. Like, have you had a chance to check out Pal World yet?
I have not. I've been trying to figure out how to get Pal World to run on my Mac, and if I can't,
That's right.
I've been looking at because my Switch 1 is old. When I bought my Switch 1 during the console shortage, but it is one of the debut versions of the console because I got it from an Entertain Mart and it was like in a glass case covered in dust. And so like right when COVID happened and things were shutting down, that's about the time for my wife's birthday and Mother's Day. And so like as a dual gift, I bought her a Switch with Diablo with Diablo 3 and and Animal Crossing. And that was my gift. And she was super ecstatic. We got to play Diablo 3 again. That was like one of our favorite games that we played when we first got together. But yeah, I mean it's not even like a semi-new Switch when I bought it. Like I think at that point the Switch was already because I remember it coming out when I was still in uniform. So
2017 roughly.
Yeah, so when I would have bought it, the Switch that I had been sitting on a shelf for 4 years. So I mean, it's an old Switch as it is, and I'm thinking, yeah, I might be looking at an upgrade. And I saw some of the nasty gram stuff that Nintendo was doing with people buying, like, you know, I buy used games. So if I bought an accidental, like one of the hacked ROMs games, and they bricked my rig, I would have burnt the city down. You know what I mean?
So what was happening where people were using what's called like a flash card. So you're basically kind of making like a backup of your games, or is the best I understand it. And somehow the cartridge knows if it's been copied. And if you've used this cartridge in say the Switch 2, but not the original Switch.
Right.
It would brick that. Which is ridiculous with how expensive these things are.
Yeah, because I would imagine that there's no recompense. Like it's just you got to suffer. You've now you've got a paperweight, right? Has anyone looked into stories about people who got their Switch 2 bricked up and then got it fixed? Has there been any stories of that?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think anyone's been able to fix it.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, that's a really good question. But Pal World, by the way, is basically just Ark. It's basically an Ark like shooting survival game.
Yeah, and I was a big fan
with the unique mechanic of just catching pals. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, it is one of those things where
the lawsuits that they went through.
And it's one of those things where it is just the competition Pokemon needs. I was kind of saying to some friends yesterday, this Winds and Waves game is not going to be affected by Pal World because this thing was already in the oven. This thing was already being baked while all that was going on. It's going to be the games after this. And I think, if anything, it's going to show that that's where the competition for that is going to have to rise up. That's where Pokemon has to be able to cook and deliver.
Yeah. I'm looking it up, and Google Gemini says that the only fix is to contact Nintendo permanently, and you have to appeal to them. Otherwise, you can use it in an offline mode, which I believe means that you play with physical game cartridges that do not require mandatory internet download or a day one update. Which, I mean, these days is just ridiculous because every video game publisher these days is pushing out cards that have day one updates.
And the worst part is with the Switch 2, the fact that you have those digital cartridges those games, like if you don't know that game is one of those key cards, and you buy it, you cannot play it. There's nothing you can do because you have to use that to download the game.
Right. Well, and I remember once upon a time, and I think this happened with the DC Universe Online. Do you remember that game?
Oh yeah, that
So
was
I
one of
missed
those
out on City
made
of
me say I
Heroes.
want to get like a PS4.
Yeah, I was a big fan of DC Universe Online, and I remember buying buying the cartridge at GameStop, new in plastic, and I got home and there was no disc. It was just the paper with the download code. And when I inspected the packaging better, of course I read on there that it was download code only, requires online. But I was still kind of taken aback, you know what I mean? Like, how many WoW discs did we have back in the day? You know?
So, is it just me, or does it seem like with this current landscape, like I'm finding myself starting to look into other hobbies, into kind of get away from video games a bit more because it's becoming so anti-consumer, anti-user, and the place where I've been kind of finding myself going is way more tabletop stuff and really war games, like just as a whole hobby, collecting, building, painting. It's something I can kind of do on my own, or or with the girlfriend, where we're both kind of sitting there. She's painting one thing, I'm sitting here painting something else, and there's that quality time where we're together, and that's been the biggest blessing I've kind of found.
Dude, and I want to congratulate you because that is like finding wife material that'll paint miniatures with you. Like I got some of Kitty's miniatures that she's been painting. This is one of the Legion of Everblight solos that she's had for a really long time, and here's one of her Malifaux models that she painted forever ago. I miss Malifaux. Malifaux was such a good game. So congratulations to you, and may God bless you with many, many, many years of miniature painting and wargaming together. And I hope that you give like the sickest, gnarliest, nastiest trash talk to each other from across the table, unless you're learning a game, because then that's different. But dude, when Kitty and we start playing a game, you would think that we were like bitter rivals since the day we were born. Like our other friends' wives are like, "Oh, you guys talk to each other like that?" I'd cry and be like, "Well, I mean, she does make me cry sometimes, but I have safe words anyway." But yeah, no. Well, the one thing is that the rule sets can fade, but like my brother War God Wargaming, he's found a hardcore group of 4th edition Warhammer 40K players. Okay. And my buddy Brewski, he's probably gonna murder me if I get it wrong, but I feel like he was a big fan of 4th or 6th edition. So I mean, even though that the game has moved on, they've had their books for so long, and they know the rules well enough that they can play anyway. For guys like me, I was such a big fan of War Machine. I mean, I've got so many gargantuans up here on my shelf right now that I'm just looking at. I think
have you seen what that's been making a comeback, by the way?
Yeah, but I'm a great American exceptionalist, and I will never forgive Privateer Press for selling that IP to a British company. I will never forgive them for that. And I wish Team Forge Games all the best with it, but I still feel like they've moved on beyond me, and I can't bring myself to okay, so case in point, I was a member of their My Mini Factory, the War Machine 3D subscription, and like on the year, like you've subscribed to One Page Rules, and you've seen their 3-month, 6-month, 1-year loyalty rewards, and they're like these massive, beautiful models. Like this is one of my sons because he plays mummified undead.
Ooh.
And so
let me blow you up.
You could tell like he's a novice painter. I think he was 6 when he painted this. But this was one of the loyalty rewards, a giant mummified undead guy. And of course I made the base because it was cheaper to make the base than it was to print it. Because I mean the base was massive, obelisks coming out, sand everywhere. But you OPR does have a way of making you feel like you are wanted, that you deserve the loyalty, and so on and so forth. The War Machine 3D, I watched them get their hands on it and was like, every month you got less and less for your subscription. And the fact that they made the 3D subscription a different sub, a different payment than getting the Army Builder app subscription, that really made no sense to me. I'm like, I mean, come on, let's face it. If I'm somebody who plays Trolls and you don't have anything for Trolls in any of the STL files and any of the upcoming stuff, why am I here? You know what I mean? Give me the War Machine app premium thing. And then if I'm not downloading and printing your STLs, then at least I'm getting some sort of value back. But then I really threw the gauntlet down when, as the year loyalty reward, the year loyalty reward was a recycled sculpt that Privateer Press gave you as a part of the Company of Iron box like 7 years ago. And I'm like, I already have 2 of that sculpt. Why would I even waste my time 3D printing a third one? So I kind of threw my hands up and I was like, you gave us 6 models on the anniversary date, a bunch of terrain that looked like it was recycled assets, just reconfigured. And then you kind of slapped us in the face because the 6-month reward was actually pretty cool. It wasn't the model. It was like a book nook. Have you seen the really cool book nooks that people like, they craft, they build them, and then you put them in your shelf and it's not a book, but it's kind of like a bookend, but
like a spacer.
Yeah. And like you could buy them from hobby stores now where you build them and you put mirrors and it looks like Diagon Alley. And because of mirror tricks, it looks like it extends forever.
Yep.
But yeah, they gave you a really cool book nook of like the new Trolls, and the Trolls got like that Vietnam look to them. You know, they've got their Kevlar pots on their head and it's got nets on it. And they're like sneaking through the jungle as there's a big Khador warjack like walking through the jungle. And I'm like, okay, you know, it's not gaming. You didn't give us access to those pieces as individual models, but it's still like a really cool art piece. And I was really excited to see what they did with the anniversary one. And I feel like they really fumbled the bag and basically responded to 0 criticism whatsoever. Not even like it. Yes, that one right there. Dude, it like I said, that's really cool. And I would have been happy just to see another one of those because it allows me to continue to engage with War Machine, even though I don't play it. But kind of getting back to your point about getting into tabletop games and war games specifically in this age where it's like, man, I could wake up tomorrow and if I'm not banned from a game because I, accidentally dropped an F-bomb at the wrong 6-year-old, then my game is getting removed because some chud developer decided to be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think boys should be in the girls' restroom. And then they pull it from the store for hate. And you're like, well, I bought the game. Privateer Press cannot come to my house and take my miniatures. This is another one of Kitty's painted ones. This is the Frightmare from Grimkin from War Machine.
Oh, okay. I like the pumpkin added in.
Yeah, so she did that, and I added the unicorn horn to it. They can't come to my house and take my Frightmare yet, but I can use that for 1-page rules. The miniatures agnostic games market is super strong. It's an amazing place to be, and I'm pretty proud of the one that I wrote. So if you've got a bunch of Necromunda models, or if you got a bunch of the Reaper Chronoscope line miniatures, I don't have any that are like immediately right in front of me. I don't think. Yeah, I don't have any of them right in front of me. But if you have models that are like the Necromunda stuff, I've got a game that's for free. You can get off of DriveThruRPG and Wargames Vault called Mutants, and it takes as little as 3 dudes to as many as 7 per player. Plays on a 15-inch by 15-inch grid. Uses D10s, and you can play a game with a narrative focus and level up your mutants and incur lasting injuries and all that. And yeah, I mean that's I was really proud of putting that together with my brothers and my wife, and we're gonna do more of that. So between having your rule books that will be there forever, having the physical miniatures, or even you don't even need to have the physical miniatures. I mean, if anybody's followed War Machine for like the longest time, right towards the end of Mark III, it was proxy machine anyway. Everyone was using proxy bases and measurement rulers. So you don't even really need the miniatures. Like a washer with the picture of what your washer represents is good enough to play war games.
Can you give me a link to the mutants? Because I want to check that out.
Yes, I will. It is one of the few ones. Let me go to.
Also, as just real quick, also just as an aside, as a small little plug here. I was like looking around, trying to see if over on your fourth wall or in any of the places I could find, you happen to have any links, brother. You have some great designs for some of your merch.
Oh, thanks.
Like here, let me share this tab just to showcase this. Like, I want these shorts, like the Hawaiian flowers and the dice, and you can get. Oh, come on! I can get this as a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, dude, I have that shirt, and I get compliments for it all the time. So it's hard to tell. So I designed it this way on purpose because I didn't want people like getting in trouble for wearing it at work. But on that design, if you zoom in, you can see that there's subdued, blacked out, not bolters that Space Marines would carry. So there's like the hibiscus flower, D6 dice, the palm leaves, and then you could just see the barrel of the not bolter.
There it is. That is subtle, man.
Yeah. I loved last year's design, but this one like screams Hawaiian t-shirt a lot more. It's a little bit more indicative of something that maybe Gary Gygax would have worn. And I think I'm gonna kind of move forward with this idea. As a matter of fact, I went and I looked up pictures of Gary Gygax, and I think I'm going to try to do a better honoring of some of the Hawaiian shirts that he's pictured wearing. The bikini's hot. Bikini's hot. I think you could do it. The Gobsmack shirt, that one was just a fun throwaway, and we are using some of the funding from Gobsmack shirts to, if you guys are familiar with Jack McCarthy of Gobstein fame, he does a St. Jude's charity game. So the Gobsmack shirt, Bad Moon baby, that one helps him out. And then I got the link for mutants. This one should be it's War Games, and I will send that to you on X.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Give me that. I will drop the link to that for everyone.
So yeah, it's just fun. It's something that's a lot easier. So you've been one of my friends long enough. As a matter of fact, I think you were on the Twig stream where T-shirt showed off one of my very first publications. As a matter of fact, it's even got the Big Geek Emporium exclusive on it.
Oh so yeah.
I keep going back and forth, and I keep telling myself to like refinish and redo the layout so it's better because I've learned a lot more since. But stuff like this, I'd love to put on my fourth wall. I have my other book. This one was written with Victor Gorchev. This is Victor Gorchev's Blacklight, which is X-Files done in Shadow Dark. I have a couple of copies of this that I printed out on my at-home printer right there. And I want to get these listed on my fourth wall and actually test out selling a physical product. But I worked really hard on these, so I'm going to try to make that available. I think you can get this on drive-thru, but my other books, since I worked with Venger and since I worked with the Red Room on the other books, I can't put them on drive-thru. And when Big Geek shut down and when Giant Slayer shut down, if you didn't get those books then, you can't get them now unless you ask me directly. But that does make me think about it, because like, how many people have their library on drive-through, and what happens if you lose your drive-through account for being naughty?
Yeah, it's a really good question because we wind up so reliant upon these things, and it all ties back in. We're talking about Steam and GOG, and even with like the Steam games, there are ways you can, like with certain titles, crack them and create your own offline versions. I've been seeing posts here or there where people are going and actually making physical games, or like uh a physical product for their games, so that way they can load it into a machine to play.
Nice. Yeah, okay. I wonder, well, so one of the things that I aimed to do when I was getting into it, I mean, obviously I made my stuff easy to print from home. And I think in one of these, because it didn't occur to me until later to include like a disclaimer that says, feel free to print this book, and if you get Cheeto fingers on it, print it again. With mutants, I think I put it in the description on mutants, where it's like, if it's a free game, like you're gonna go on there and get it anyway. Go print it for your friends. Print 5 copies of it at the library, so that way you can start a gaming club at your library. And like the next step is to, I've been working on a TTRPG rule set since the days of Big Geek Emporium. Technically a little bit before that, but I hadn't actually started to write it down until then. But I really want to make that as like my basis for the games moving forward. Kind of like, if you recall, in War Machine, do you remember the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game?
Very vaguely. Like I've seen it around, and I kept wanting to pick it up, but I had never really gotten into War Machine in general.
It's one of my favorite games. So it uses the same rule set as War Machine. So if you're familiar with the War Machine game, you can pick this up, and it's so familiar because obviously it's a skirmish game, and it doesn't pretend to be anything but a skirmish game with some really cool role-playing game rule sets in between your skirmish battles. So you get to create your character, and you get to create a warcaster if you wanted a warcaster, or you can create like someone very close to like the really cool solos like Vincent or De Gorman, the alchemist that throws grenades. But I wanted to kind of move in that direction where you learn a rule set, and then if you wanted to jump from the war game to the RPG, you're learning like 2 or 3 more sentences to wrap up your turn. And then that's that. Or if you played the RPG and then you're like, okay, well, we got a bunch of henchmen. The player group is kind of like forming factions, and they're kind of doing some PvP. Then it's not that great of a leap to go to the actual war game rules, and then you can play your linked skirmish battles and do that. So that's the next big thing. And then following that, making print from home mechanics. I think you might have. I mean, one-page rules is very much print from home. You can print the tokens, you can print rulers, you can print the minis, you can print the rules, and so I really like that. I really like that. You have the files, you put them on your hard drive, and yes, Robot Legion. Where's my Robot Legion at?
I gotta. Oh, I guess I should ask? Did you get a chance to back the 2-player box, Broken Truth?
I did not. I believe at that time we had a couple of our friends that were doing. So I made the command decision to support the homies, and I haven't regretted it. But I do love one-page rules. I make a point to make it one of the popular available games at Wargamer Girls Valhalla Gaming Getaway. Me and my brother do. I really want to start up a gaming group that plays in the late fall through the winter and into the early spring at my library. Mostly because it gives me the it gives me the excuse to print as many of the armies as I want and then if if somebody comes in, they're like, oh, I really want to play it, but I don't have any miniatures, and I'm like, oh, well, here's some alien hives that I printed because I wanted them for the wave, the solo co-op wave
The horde
version,
mode.
the horde mode. I mean, so I got my dwarves, right? This is one of the characters from the dwarf versus whatchamacallit campaign. I got these guys, my dwarf characters painted, and I was like, yeah, man, I really want to do a campaign that's got and you got the really useful boxes. Yeah,
I've been slowly filling them up. Like this is what I got filled up with a bunch of my elves I was putting together.
I don't have one like out and available right now, except for my Monster Apocalypse one. It's my Monster Pock. My Mom Pock. You'll like this. This is kind of a treat for the Mechpit right here, because it's Kaiju and Mech.
Ooh.
So everything used to be magnetized in here, but you'll see if I flip it around here, like all of the small units, like the tanks and the flyers, they're all magnetized here. And I won't flip it over right now, but a lot of these guys are magnetized to the bottom. And I saw Vincent mention White Shark magazine. I am going to be writing a tutorial for how I make really useful boxes now. This is one of the first ones that I did, but how I make them quick, fast, and dirty, more or less. But here's some mechs for the Mechpit chat.
Yes,
much better camera, but I think it's mostly the lighting that I got here. But that's one of the starter ones.
You said that was for what, Monster Apocalypse?
Yep. So Privateer Press still owns Monster Apocalypse, and it is pretty much it's followed the print from home mechanic / thought process in terms of, like, you'll see this is a 3D print version. And I was lucky enough, I contacted Matt Wilson, the owner of Privateer Press. I've been such a fan of his, like, ever since like old MTG and 3rd edition days when he used to do art for Wizards. And he did send me the STLs for a bunch of the buildings and stuff for Monster Apocalypse. And I even gave him the idea of STLs for the dice, because Monster Apocalypse does use bespoke dice. And it seems like a lot of people are content. If you're not aware, Privateer Press basically died because of a company called Mythic Games. They were one of those Kickstarter scammers where they did a Kickstarter, didn't deliver, did another Kickstarter to fund the last one, and then another one to fund the last one. And Privateer Press basically let them have Riot Quest, which is, again, just a really fun game. This is one of my Riot Quest minis. He's Bumble. He's a bear. He's a bear mercenary.
Yeah.
And he gets paid in beer and armor. And I love Riot Quest, but they tried to board gamify Riot Quest rather than have it be a miniature skirmish game. And then the same thing with Monpok. And so they did the Monpok one, funded, and then people stopped getting updates. And then they were like, oh, shoot, we got to figure this out. Did a Riot Quest one. And at that point, people were on the game because they did a Rainbow Six that failed or just never shipped. A Rainbow Six Siege that never shipped. And then they did another game, I can't remember. Then they did the Monpok. Then they did the Riot Quest one. And I was moving into this house when they were doing the Monpok one. I was this close to being like a $400 supporter. Those people never got their miniatures. And Matt Wilson, as a consolation prize, was like, the best I can do is I can make all of the 3D scope files into printable STLs that are pre-supported, and you can have them and you can print as many as you want. And some people were okay, but obviously there's a lot of people who would like to 3D print, but the barrier to entry is too high.
Right. that is a sad thing to see. But I do think it is good. It is going to get to a point where you are going to increasingly see them more and more in people's everyday homes.
I think so. Well, here's the other thing too, because it. But wait, there's more. I think Wargamer Girl, which by the way, if you guys haven't heard of Wargamer Girl, like she set the precedent for YouTube battle reports. Definitely look up Wargamer Girl. But she had brought to my attention. What's that?
I'll have to look her up.
Yeah. She brought to my attention, I think it was sometime like late fall, early winter last year, that Washington and Oregon were looking at regulating 3D printers where the manufacturer of the printer has to have some sort of DRM installed on it so they can track. I mean, kind of like your at-home printers, right? You know, have you ever seen the thing where it's like, oh, well, everyone knows everything that you print all the time? Kind of like that, but with your 3D printers. And if they sense that you're printing ghost guns, they'll brick your printer. Which kind of makes it a little weird if you want to start printing bolters, you know, or space lasers for your little guys. They're going to be like, oh, brick that man's machine.
Or when you think about it, even the guys want to do bigger cosplay stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's going to be a problem there.
I had a friend in high school that he used to make guns out of like PVC pipe, nitrous cartridges, and batteries. And I was always so fascinated to watch his videos, seeing how fast he can get like a AAA to fly and how many pieces of 3/4 inch plywood he can get through.
You know, it is kind of funny though, seeing how much everything's been changing lately, and some things have been kind of making news. And the one thing that's been catching me lately, that like I've been talking about Warhammer quite a bit more lately. Like within the last year, in part thanks to one-page rules, it got me started looking at more wargaming. And I'm like, look around, I'm like, you know, these Battle Brothers are pretty cool, but I kind of want to find some models for them. And before I know it, I'm like, all right, I guess I'll pick up some Space Marines.
Yeah,
no, I'm not. I'm like 3 armies down right now, and I'm like, I've got Tau piling up on my desk. I'm painting up and kind of trying to inspire them, painting them based off like the Gundam. Which the fun thing there is I could then turn around and double dip and go over to one-page rules, which has been so much fun. But it there was one thing that kind of popped up in my feed this week that was a ton of fun to look at. And I had a hell of a laugh when I saw this pop up on YouTube Video Friday.
Oh my god, he would. He would choose Nurgle. So I didn't know anything about this guy until the roaches. Like he mentioned something about cleaning his room and he found roaches or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think much of him until he popped up again. What was he saying? He had a viral video where he's like talking to his chat and he's like, okay, chat. So is it gay? Is it gay if you're having sex with a robot, but it's being remote controlled by a man or something like that? And I'm just like, yes, I think that's the obvious answer. He's like, okay, well, is it gay if you don't know? And I'm like, well, I think just based on default, because robots are hard. I'm stamping my foot down, but I'm willing to have this. This is Mechpit chat. You know, I don't know if there's any like what is it, like sussy? Is that what the kids are saying? Like sussy robots? Or you're like, oh man.
Well, let me give you the lowdown and the spiel. Is that mecha as a genre is already just a little gay, so you kind of accept that going into it. Okay.
Okay.
Top Gun.
I've heard Top Gun is gay, but I can't. Like I said, great American exceptionalism, man. Those pilots are American heroes, damn it. They can't be gay. We wouldn't have let them get that far.
Look, you see guys arguing about like it's always like guys talking about getting in the cockpits, grabbing the thrust master,
Mm-hmm.
push it to the limit.
Yeah.
Like there's
Highway! I'm gonna go up your highway to the danger zone.
mm-hmm. And Fletcher brings up one of the premium examples we got in the last couple of years was this anime called Brave Bang Braver. It's one of my favorite anime. It is like the gayest anime I've seen out there. I don't even think I have any clips for it anymore, but
yeah, I'm gonna have to check.
Well.
I'm gonna have to tell myself I'm gonna tell you guys that I'm gonna check that out, but I think I'm gonna skip it. If it's that gay, I think I'm gonna have to.
All I'm gonna say is check out the opening to it, which is great. It's a rocket anthem. You're like, oh fuck yeah, it's great. And then you watch the ending, and it's literally about two guys holding hands. As they rip their shirts off into this very homoerotic like montage of them like coming together onto a stage. It is like the total opposite tone, as like the two of them are standing back to back with each other singing at the sky. The camera's panning around them. They turn around, and then you see the hands slowly come together.
Naked dude inside another dude, technically. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say unless they kiss. Unless they do some actual homo stuff, like homies being homies, I'm not gonna fault a homie for being a homie dog. But yeah, I mean, if it's a naked dude inside another dude, I'm just the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. And I believe there was some stuff about Lance in that movie too. No, Nance. I mean, I said Nance. I love Tropic Thunder.
That movie is too good for its time. It was and I argue it was probably the last like true comedy we got in Hollywood, because after that, like you basically had all of like the Trump election stuff kind of kicking in. People moved, and Marvel was in full swing, so they couldn't just do a comedy because we had to do everything as a big box, big budget box office movie. And it seems like they're trying to slowly get back into the swing of things. Like it sounds like Marvel's trying to do a little bit of course correction as well.
I'd seen a picture. I don't know who the character is, but somebody I seen it a couple times about this lady in a blue pool, and they're saying that this is Black Widow. And I was like, that's not what Black Widow looked like when I saw it. But she's like in a pool, but the pool water is like super opaque. And I'm like, that's probably as racy as a Marvel movie is gonna go. But I don't know. So I'm not a big fan of Deadpool and Wolverine. Like on its face, I wanted to be, but I was really sad that it seemed, I didn't like that they made Deadpool sad, old, and estranged from his friends, and then they gave us like the worst sad and depressed Wolverine, like visually stunning. The amount of fan service that they gave you in the movie was great, and they didn't shy away from dirty jokes either. But I wish it didn't make Deadpool and Wolverine seem like such pieces of shit, I guess.
Well, the problem I had with it, like basically right from the get-go, that it was like the minute I saw it, people loved it. It was literally the scene where we are like digging up and raping the dead corpse of Wolverine in order to have this big like action montage, and it's like, guys, is it entertaining? Sure, but they're literally digging up the corpse of a dead character in order to try to save Marvel.
I mean, I think
they literally call him Marvel's Jesus.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like I think it was all just so on the nose.
But what I can't think of a lot of other movies. So like it's like Cyberpunk Edge Runners from Studio Trigger. I thought that one was really good. It tackled adult themes in a way that was pretty tasteful for the theme. Um, and I really enjoyed that. What other new movies did I see? He-Man did have some problems with millennial humor. Um, I don't think I'm necessarily going to fault them for writing for the audience that's going to be alive to go see it. But I can understand some of the protestations because there was a lot of the "did that just happen" type of lines in that movie, and I was like, oh, well, duh, like we just watched it, of course.
I I cannot stand that millennial writing. And there's some games I'm playing where I'm like, yeah, it's the decent gameplay, but then it's the dialogue. It just takes me out of it. I'm like, no, don't do this.
Yeah,
Like
please
there
don't.
it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, some of the newest video games, I had never played Resident Evil 6, and I never played Resident Evil Revelations 2, but those were on sale for like $3 a piece on the Switch store. And I just like made Kitty sit down and play through Resident Evil 5 with me, and she loved it enough to give 6 a shot. And she liked 6 enough to give Resident Evil Revelations 2 a shot. And that's not a new game. But that game had some of the cringiest dialogue coming from one of the side characters that they introduced just for that game. It was Barry's daughter. And she's got to drop an F-bomb always, and whenever it's convenient, she uses it like she uses it like a comma in some of the sentences, and I'm just like, I can't be scared when in a game when you're acting like this and you're talking like this, and like I haven't beat the game yet, but I'm about halfway through, and we ran across some other side characters, and the side characters were like these cocky wannabe macho dudes, and then they immediately died. And you're like, come on. And that's coming from like a series that started off with, you were almost a Jill sandwich. Oh, Barry. You know what I mean?
It's so bad because that was cheesy dialogue. That was intentionally cheesy. This was just cringe.
Yeah.
But I'll one up either. I've actually never beaten any of the Resident Evil games.
Oh.
Like the most I played is like a couple hours of Resident Evil 5, and that's about it.
I highly recommend 4. And I might catch some flack, but I really do think that by number 4, they evolved from being just another like tank control survival horror game. And I didn't like it at the time because it doesn't have actual zombies. And this was a problem that we ran into with Resident Evil 5. But I do think that in a game in a world at the time when those games are being made and a lot of people were doing zombie games, I can forgive the Las Plagas and then the variant that was used for Resident Evil 5. And then in Resident Evil 6, which I hadn't played, I can understand why like people who were looking forward to deep lore puzzle horror game were really taken aback by the Michael Bay style action that was going on in Resident Evil 6. But it served its purpose for me where my wife and I were able to play a scary game because we love horror movies, but we were able to play this game together. And there was like the scene where you're in the sewers and you're trying to swim away from the shark, and you have to depend on the other player to shoot the shark on its like shiny spot before it swallows you. That's a core memory for me and my wife, because I'm like, her and we usually play competitive games. So when we play competitive games, like you put us on Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct and it's a riot. But now we're trying to like work together, and like I can't in good conscience repeat some of the stuff that in a gentlemanly conversation that was said between my wife and I. But even my sons who were like just outsider participants to this whole ordeal were like, whoa, like calm down. And I'm like, I was getting eaten. We're playing on hard mode and stuff. So it was fun. It was fun.
Because from the outside, it seems to me that Resident Evil 4 was the turning point where everything became more about the action, the action took the front seat, and it fundamentally changed the franchise. Everything has changed since then. And then, like, what, Resident Evil 7 seems like they kind of like went back to the horror roots.
I didn't play 7 on the account of my Switch won't run it. But that's what I heard. The problem with because 7 was like Resident Evil Village or whatever, where you're playing like some other no-name character.
7,
I had a hard time wanting to be excited for it because it looked like a rip-off of the on the Xbox there was no on the Xbox there was a first-person horror game where you were like a journalist and all you had was a camera with a flashlight on it, and you went to like an insane asylum. Yeah, so it was kind of like, what was it called?
Like, I want to say Fatal Frame, but I know I'm probably wrong.
No, it was a newer game, not cute little Japanese girls trying to take pictures of ghosts.
I guess the other issue there as well is because with 7 they went to first person, so you are right in the it's right in your view.
Xbox One horror game. Dude goes to insane asylum with a camera. I just remember the Outlast. Did you ever play that one?
No, I'm a bit of a coward when it comes to like horror games.
Okay. Yeah, so the first person Resident Evil game reminded me too much of Outlast. And I was like, I think that was like an overcorrection, but I think I was wrong. Like, because I think that one became almost as much of like inventory management puzzle suspense horror game as the originals were, but in a first person format. I wasn't excited, and like I said, I've been having a hard time playing video games as it is. So punch the boulder, Chris, smash the boulder, and yeah, he did get it.
Boulder punch, you bastard.
Dude, Outlast was great. I think I replayed that game 4 times, and I had people like come to my house with beer and popcorn to watch that game get played. Like it was kind of a thing. And since I knew the ins and outs, I wasn't getting stuck by like the 3rd time. And so people were like, "Oh, it's like a movie." So
anyway,
jump scares get you when you play. I could think of a few. Do you remember Eternal Darkness on the GameCube?
Oh yeah, Sanity's Requiem.
Yep, the jump scare where Alex is in the bloody bathtub. Like, I got Greg from Chronicles of Ares helped me out and let me relive some of my GameCube games memories on the Mac, and I was able to play and show to my family Eternal Darkness because I've been such a big fan of Lovecraft, and that game uses so much Lovecraft stuff. And I'd sit there and I'd subject my wife to all of the low budget horror, like Howard Philip Lovecraft movies. Some of the good ones, I think you might recall stuff like Dagon and Dreams in the Witch House. Those ones are pretty good. Mm-hmm. But some of the other lower budget ones that even I was like, ugh, I can't believe I wasted my time. Anyway, but I was like, but you really got to trust me. You really got to trust me on this Eternal Darkness game. And they watched me play through hours and hours of it. And it had been so long since I played it. I knew generally whereabouts it happened, but not exactly how to trigger it. And I about shit my pants when I saw that. Even as a grown man, like, it happened so fast.
I remember my dad, like, because I had a GameCube as a kid there at the time, and when games like that would come out for the GameCube, Dad would come in our room like, "Hey son, I'm borrowing the GameCube for the week." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, Dad." I can't really say much because he bought the thing for me. So it's like, oh, sure, he bought it for me, but yeah, it's just like with the PS2 and how that was the DVD player.
Yeah, but really, he's just like in the background playing Dead or Alive Extreme 2. And volleyball, anyone? Yeah,
So-
man. Yeah, it's so weird because I own as many physical cards as I can. We still have our N64 and all those cartridges. But other than that, like I don't have a lot of physical video games. And it is something that I think about frequently enough where I'm like, man, one day my Switch isn't going to work. What am I going to do?
Well, you could go back and play some D&D.
You could.
And with that, I gotta ask: have you seen all the announcements we got of Wizards of the Coast actually apparently trying?
So I went to the Oregon coast, and Gen Con was a starting like the hour that I drove away. I came back to a torrent of information involving an active shooter in Idaho, and I had to answer a bunch of DMs about me being like, no, that's way south. That's like 2 states away from me as the crow flies.
The fact that you didn't hear from me while that was going on is unrelated.
Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude, that was really fun. And then the area that I live in is currently on fire, so I've got like a bunch of shit that's like packed and ready to go by the front door. And then there was some stupid drama nonsense. And then I'm trying to catch up with all the WotC stuff because I think OGGM had asked me about any miniature news, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I haven't really looked at that. I did see the Dark Sun trailer, and I believe that some people were raising a row because the Dark Sun trailer did have like a content warning ahead of it. I don't think that that's something that people should be upset about. I kind of agree with in an age where like everyone's got access to the internet to include your kids, and if you're like me and you're playing these games with your kids, the algorithms about that, I'm going to come home and I'm going to put YouTube or Rumble on my projector for the family to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And
I happen to have it ready.
Yeah, and when I see the Dark Sun trailer, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna play that." But if it doesn't have the warning on front of it, well, my kids who might be a little too young to watch Dark Sun, which I understand the irony of because they've played and or watched some of the Resident Evil stuff with me, but it's still my choice. Anyway, I don't mind that. I did see, I think it was Kevin Lamb mentioned something about WotC having to leverage way too hard the violence and the gore when the original artist Brahm did such a great job of evoking the mature themes without so much as showing a single nipple, I believe. But I digress. If you want to play the trailer.
Oh, yeah, we play the trailer and we can talk about it a little bit afterwards because they announced a whole bunch of stuff at Gen Con, and that was aside from the fact that like Gen Con apparently flooded.
I did see a little bit of that. That was kind of funny to me.
Which, by the way, as far as that goes, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been more likely to be up in arms on this sort of thing, as sort of was one to do at the time. But the way I see it now, it's kind of like how Fox were like, this program has been rated M for mature and maybe unsuitable for some audiences.
Yeah, I remember having to be subjected to that warning every time I tried to watch X-Files when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So it didn't bother me.
Yeah, I will say I hope that means if we're putting that on there, we're gonna be allowed to be a little risque, that we're not gonna have to play by the sort of the safe rule book.
Right. And one of the things that is absent from that disclaimer at the beginning is you didn't see anything like trigger warning, blood, guts, gore, racism, slavery. There wasn't a trigger warning. It was a very run-of-the-mill, viewer discretion is advised. Anyway.
All right, metal music. All right.
So if you can pause that for me for just 1 second. Like, that is so indicative of like the heavy metal animated movie. You know what I mean? If you can't go as far back as the original, like Heavy Metal 2000 opens up. And some of the things I want to point out is I'm going to evoke some Jeffro Johnson for all the Jeffro haters. Here we have artists that are drawing like Americans. I love anime, but it is nice to get some like actual like American looking animation. So I just wanted to point that out as we continue.
And also, real quick to point it out, saying hello and hail to Stone Cold Loki, which, Patty, if you've not had a chance to yet, do yourself a pleasure and give this man a sub, because, you know, about 3 times a week, multiple times during a week during the mornings, he does an amazing morning show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and on Friday nights, he has one of the best Friday night shows to end the work week on. And also, I do frequently hang out with him on Tuesdays doing movie reviews over with Pops. So, yeah, Stone Cold Loki absolutely deserves a subscription, as does, you know, so many of these other people that have hopped in here.
Easy one to find. All right. So I got were there uncovered boobies, or were those man boobs? Were those moobs? Do you see what I'm saying? Right there. I think those are can you show this on YouTube?
You know,
like
I really don't know.
We used to have this rule in art class: 1 nipple's fine, but 2 nipples is adult.
Oh no, there's nipples. There are nipples.
Yeah, and if I'm counting correctly, I see. Well, okay, she's wearing a shirt. Oh yeah, and there's 2 of them right there. Okay,
mystery solved. The mystery of the missing nipple.
Yeah, won't find that in a Dwayne Johnson movie. Oh, won't find that in a Disney movie. I don't know. I do think that, and some people like to misconstrue where I'm at, where I don't want to censor overt or overly violent or overly sexual games. That's never been the point. What I am saying is that a lot of less than talented people will lean on overt sexual or gory themes to make up for a lack of substance. And a lot of people will confuse me saying that show sucks because of all of the porn scenes as like a prude statement, where I'm like, well, no, you just did like early 2000s HBO and you decided to put as much skin on there as you can to make up for your lack of good writing. You know, if you could fill up 45 minutes of screen time with 15 minutes of no one's talking and like really ambiguous, you know, humping, then you only have 30 minutes to write good dialogue. And I think a lot of those guys tried to hide behind stuff. Like I really didn't get the Game of Thrones hype, but
so I will say, yeah, sure, it was nice to see, you know, movies. Yeah, sure. But there was enticing enough storytelling that got me interested. And there's something to be said for the tasteful cutaway. You know, in the RPG space, we've certainly, you know, understood the importance of a tasteful cutaway like that.
Yeah.
We're not all out here like Garbro going, "Go ahead, seduce me."
I will say, like, I listened to the first episode of Drop Pod Green, and Guardbro doing his own voiceover was just the right choice because he's got a hell of a voice. I wish that guy the best. He's very skilled, and I love all of his ideas. But I think I don't know. I think it's a bit of a different format, and I think I know, like, he's not making any sort of facade about his human male on female alien, which I had to look that up. I didn't know what homopha was.
You're saying you're not a man of culture.
My Google search is forever tainted with homopha, and I'm like, oh god, I thought I was immune to this, but I was really invested in Guardbro and what he was doing, so I had to look it up. But I think Guardbro's numbers will speak for themselves, and like I said, it's a bit different when that's the objective rather than the thing that you hide behind. Case in point, I think, and I didn't actually play the game, but like Near Automata and what was the one? Stellar Blade. Having watched a few of the gameplay videos, I was like, yeah, I think that this game, the character itself is designed for that way because they're designed for that purpose, but it doesn't have to hide behind that in order to cover up for poor game mechanics, shitty code, or lack of a riveting story. There was an extraction shooter that came out, and everyone was like, oh, well, if you don't like this, then you're a censorious prude. And I was looking at the gameplay loop, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a very run-of-the-mill bog standard extraction shooter, and the only selling point are scantily clad women that you can use to emote in a particular way, which isn't wrong. More power to you if you want, but I'm still allowed to have my opinion. Not that anyone calling me a prude really ever pissed me off anyway. I just think it's funny. But we're still allowed to have our opinion to be like, yeah, graphically, visually, it's a stunning game. Descendant, first Descendant, something Descendant, I think was the name of the game. Where I was like, yeah, what's that?
Oh, I said maybe. Like I don't even know that one.
Yeah,
I just because like a lot of the games like that, generally speaking, I tend to not play. In part because if I know I'm gonna be around people, I'm like, hey, maybe I don't want to play the booby shooter game. Like was it Senra Kagura, which is just like anime girls just shooting guns, or in skimpy bikinis.
Is that the one? There was a game because I remember it was another one of the ones that I rented from Hollywood Video, where the disc it was like an anime cowgirl, and you were slaying demons or zombies or something. Damn it! Now I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't want to look it up. Xbox 360 game, anime cowgirl demon hunter.
Now I gotta know this.
Right? I don't. Onachambara Bikini Samurai Squad for the Xbox 360 features anime-styled female protagonists fighting hordes of zombies and monsters. And the main character, Aya, famously wears a cowboy hat and a skimpy outfit / bikini while wielding a sword.
Oh.
Yes, Onachambara. Yeah. And I remember
also,
playing that
props
game
to you, sir, for...
What's that?
Also, props to you, sir, for sword.
Yeah, S-words. Yeah, dude. When I
in there, clearly I'm supposed to say it.
But it's a Lance. Hello. Anyway, yeah, I just remember being told that was a good game, and I was like, I really wish I would have taken like Rogue Commander or Command and Conquer again instead of this game. It's a 3.5 mile walk one way, man. So Yeah, dude, Hollywood Video right towards the end where it was like $15 a month and you got 5 movie rentals and 3 video game rentals, and that's what you can have out at a time. I was putting movies in my backpack and video games in my backpack, and I'd hit it up on the way home from school, and yeah, I remember that particular night. It was a Friday night. My buddy Derek was like, "Oh, this is the great game. You got to check it out." And I played it and was like, "This is like Devil May Cry, but it's choppy and it doesn't make a lot of sense." It's again, visually stunning, but I'd rather play Devil May Cry. And I think at that time there was some other stuff, but
there's a lot of games out there that.
Is that the correct name, Fletcher? Is that the right name? Battle Therapist 2? I'm censoring the word because I believe we're on YouTube, so I'm doing the best that I can. It's been a long time.
It's a game about competitive Christmas present wrapping.
Rapping. It's been so long since I've been on stream because Michael Dale and Jeremy have been running my channel in my stead as I've been doing a bunch of house projects and then studying to pass my electrical journeyman exam. But I mean, even then I was doing Rumble, so I said whatever I want, whenever I want. Now I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, Patty. You gotta watch that thing. Censoring yourself is tight.
So I guess kind of the last couple things that got announced, and I want to touch on these before we wrap up, but D&D also had a couple of other small announcements that hit. And I guess really to wrap before we get to those, I'm sort of surprised that they are going back to Dark Sun as a concept. And I feel like that is something that is probably worth a discussion in and of itself, that it's a setting that for basically the last decade, we've all been saying, like, they will never touch it. They will never go there. They're proving us wrong.
So they redid Dark Sun in 4th edition. And it wasn't that it wasn't well received so much as the edition itself wasn't. And I think that they were trying to see what stuck by the time they got around to it.
Well, the difference that what I'm getting at is the 5th edition era Wizards of the Coast with all the sensibilities of that.
That's interesting because we know that they brought they're bringing Weiss and Manganiello to the team to do official stuff. We saw them be middling successful when they got Dizzarelli back for Planescape, and I heard that they brought Braum back as an artist, which is really crazy considering I think we just saw our last Vallejo art piece. I don't know if you saw that, but Vallejo, painter extraordinaire, fantasy. I mean, seconded really only by Frank Frazetta. He's got Parkinson's, so we're losing him. But it seems a little weird because we've got D&D 5.5. And if I recall, 3.0 was around for like a couple of years, and then 3.5 was around for a decade or so. You know, there was a lot of books in 3.5. So let's go to 5th edition. We don't really have a precursor for this in terms of 5th edition's been around for 10 years plus. And now we're at 5.5 and it's been around for 2 years since I think the PHB dropped. And
about there. I think we're about to hit 2 years.
So they do 5.5. And the base setting for 5.5 is Greyhawk. And it seems towards the end, I don't know. It feels kind of like they're hedging their bets in terms of, okay, we're going to try to court the Grognards with Greyhawk. And it seems like they fumbled that between the orcs, between the D&D movie that didn't mention Arneson and Gygax. And then we got a Ravenloft thing that I think the only thing I saw on it was Professor Dungeon Master said it's okay. Is what my reading of it was. But there's already a bunch of 5th edition Ravenloft content. So now we're going to go into 2027. So 5.5 is going to be about 3 to 4 years old. And a lot of people have already been talking about where D&D goes from here. Like, do they announce a 6th edition? There's all this talk of them dropping their physical books and moving to like digital releases. And I'm just wondering how much of Dark Sun are we going to get fleshed out before we move on to another edition of the game. There's some conversations to be had about, well, if it's digital, it's easy to update the books to the new edition because you don't have to do a whole new print run. And then we go back again to owning your stuff where it's like, okay, well, I want the 5.5 edition. If it comes out and it's good, then I want that. And I will tell you, that was like my second time watching that trailer. I didn't get a sense of it necessarily being AI generated. It definitely looked like, for anybody that does the Warhammer Plus subscription, the way that their animation teams do stuff, where it's like it's a much lower frame rate. It's looking like it's like 12 frames a second, but there's some like really good skeleton rigging going on. If you're familiar with animation, which I did a lot when I was in high school, it's not cheap to do animation, and it's certainly not cheap to do animation these days when you could have an AI do it. So I want to think that they are invested in doing Dark Sun, but I do think that they are going to run into one of the problems that so Gamma World had a 7th edition that released on the 4th edition Bones. It's one of my favorite games. I love that version of Gamma World. It's not like 1st, 2nd, or 3rd edition, and it's not like the alternative version of Gamma World, right? I think Dark Sun's probably going to appeal to wannabe edgelord players, and I would be surprised if those people don't become relatively hardcore fans over the long run. But I don't see them having a production cycle that really fleshes out Dark Sun in a way that the people who originally supported this setting would want.
Well, it seems to be by and large their plan has largely been to rely on the D&D Beyond and the fan generated content to help fill in that gap. So as long as they can get at least a book out that gives you the basics of it, then they can kind of sit back and let the fans go put in the Dark Sun content that they want to see. And so that way they can kind of sit back and not worry too much on it and just kind of, cast their checks from yet another Magic release.
But how is that going to work with third-party content? Because I know drive-through, you and I both know that drive-through can be pretty selective on when they want to enforce their prurient nature content rules. Case in point, during Red Room's time, nothing Red Room did was anything worse than like the standard. Can I say Vampire the Masquerade? Where's Jim? Where's T? But like the bog standard third party stuff that was for not Vampire. I mean, there was images of like a gang therapist session happening in like a female bathroom, and that made it through, right? So I think about the DMs Guild and not knowing much about what their rules and guidelines are for third-party content. How many people are going to attempt to release stuff for Dark Sun using the third-party content license that are going to find themselves no longer welcome in those circles?
Part of me kind of gets the feeling that we're starting to see an era where I feel like we've kind of gone through the worst, but we're starting to kind of edge back. I think the ability to be a little edgy is starting to get normalized again. the year of the chud, and we got people out here saying retard again. Like it's kind of getting better.
Yeah, man.
Like it's just people saying "fuck you." Like I don't care if you don't like the fact that I'm saying that.
True. But you have to, I mean, and you'll have to understand that this has been in motion for a long time. It's not like WotC woke up, beginning of this year and said that they were going to come out with the Dark Sun stuff. Like that animation alone probably took at least a quarter to make. And they wouldn't have made the animation. They wouldn't have poured all of the resources into the making of that animation trailer unless they knew that they were really going to do this, So ideally, they're at the point where they're finishing play testing, if anyone believes in that anymore. And they're going to like lay out and slash final touches for the book for release in 2027. You know what I mean? So, and I think that you'll see this a lot too, where like some people are like, oh, it's the year of the chud, and it's like, well, a lot of these things had to be in motion a year or two. And because of the way production goes, that there were probably times where like this the new Spider-Man movie, because I'd seen relatively good reviews about them delivering on expectations. The new Spider-Man movie, whether it went through like the same development hell that the whatever brothers did for some of the other like phase 4 Marvel stuff, where it's like there's no script, we're just gonna film it type of deal that I heard was going on, versus the new Spider-Man movie. If they're really delivering on audience expectations, is it because our expectations are low? Like, is it a good movie? Or is it good enough? Kind of like the Masters of the Universe. Like, let's look at that. It's we'd known that it's been in production for at least 2 or 3 years. Movie comes out, some of the dialogue's cringy, but there's no like the woke politics that you see in it are like obvious making fun of those things. Like the movie starts off with the dude choosing to leave the longhouse to pursue his dreams, and he basically tells a bald black HR lady to go fuck herself. You know what I mean? Like that movie is not woke. It's just cringy sometimes.
I started watching it this weekend. I got about 10-15 minutes in so far, and like I was enjoying it. I was just having a bad time with the internet connection. But everyone I've talked to who's brought it up will come out to me and be like, "Oh, Caster, have you seen Masters of the Universe? This movie's great." Oh, Vince, it's hit $1 billion already.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Like the numbers haven't been fully updated yet, but last I checked, it was like $950 million worldwide.
Globally, yeah. Domestically, 360. Globally was 932 million. So that's pretty good. If what was the movie budgeted at?
Like I think they said 250.
Spider-Man budget 225.
That was pretty close.
Not bad. And what did we say they made? Like 350 something? 360? Okay, so and I think they say you have to make double to cover.
Typically 2.5 to 3 times. Just because a lot of that's largely from like COVID era like safety measures. So I think we're back in the realm of like 2.5 times.
Okay. Opening day made 168 and then went to 360 for the weekend. So they didn't make that 2 to 2.5 times in opening weekend, but globally looks like it did really good. So I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I'll have to see. I'm trying to think of other movies that like have really made the cut, but it's been what was the new?
There were movies like Obsession and Backrooms that came out, and those were just phenomenons for the last month.
I have not seen them, but I tell you, I had to mute Obsession because it was getting ridiculous.
You could say people were getting obsessed with it.
Yeah, like it was like every other post was like Nancy this or Nancy this, and I was like I'm curious about the movie, obviously, because I love low budget horror movies. So I didn't want any spoilers.
But
um,
um, but to sorry to kind of wrap back around, uh, the fact that we're getting a lot more licensed stuff with D&D, because the other couple of big announcements were we're also getting the World of Warcraft getting brought in, and although they will only have a logo for it, Star Wars.
yeah, I did see that. The Warcraft one doesn't surprise me that much. The Star Wars one does. And the reason why is because Fantasy Flight seemed to do all the Star Wars stuff, and now it's Atomic Mass Games, which is funny because it brings it back to Privateer Press, because Atomic Mass Games is 3/4 of Privateer Press at their peak.
I've got I've got an entire shelf in the bottom of my bookshelf here that has like virtually every FFG RPG book for Star Wars. So
Nice.
I have everything. I have tons of dice. I was still buying extras, but that one I really wasn't expecting that. But it's kind of not surprising considering both World of Warcraft and Star Wars have both had their ties to D&D in the past, where Fourth Edition was trying to be it. Let's try to be World of Warcraft.
I think Star Wars Star Wars used in 2002. They used the 3.5 engine for like a core Star Wars set. And I actually played that one for a long time. So that one, it surprises me because of the gaming IP being wrapped up between WEG, Fantasy Flight, and Atomic Mass Games for recent memory. I don't know how they did the licensing or how they're going to do that. What I do hope is that games like Star Wars, I think it's called Shatterpoint, and then it talk about Guardbro again. One of Guardbro's favorite games was the Star Wars
Legion?
Legion. So I'm curious to see if those games will see a resurgence as well. But is it really going to be like a Star Wars game unless we get dedicated? Because you'd have to have dedicated dogfight and fleet battles, and we didn't get that in Spelljammer. The new Spelljammer didn't have any ship combat. So I would be interested to see if they do dedicated dogfight mechanics that are more than roll a d20, you dummy. And then how they treat Jedi.
With all this talk about like how we have all the different books coming out to fit the different settings, I wouldn't be surprised to see them bringing in Birthright at some point to just really take off Double D. With the idea that they use their homestead or their that new set of rules for operating like a home base, just as an expanded version of that, and I could see that being the big selling point to doing a Birthright book and selling it to players who maybe they don't want to play that sort of setting, but they really want more in that. I could see that being a pivot there. Or the pitch.
I think it would be interesting to see. I think it'd be interesting to see if they can ever actually go and do something like Blackmore. If they really want to go back to like Origins and such, or revive Chainmail and see if that's in the cards, because they did revive Chainmail right around like the 3.0 days. You used to be able to get boxes of miniatures, and it was Dungeons and Dragons Chainmail. And right now they have a skirmish war game with pre-painted minis. It's produced by WizKids, and it's Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught. I believe Fox of RPG did a review, but he was reviewing the minis specifically and not the rules for Onslaught, which I am curious about. We'll have to see about that.
I don't
But
know. I can't see them doing doing chainmail because because at the end of the day they want to have the name brand on there. Dungeons and Dragons chainmail is what they would have to call it if they were to.
and they would. I don't see why they couldn't. Because I mean, let's face it. Like I said, the Gamma World game came in a box set. All three versions of it. The core set, the expanded set, and it was a box set, and it came with battle maps that were specific to the adventure in the core book, and then one blank one, and then a bunch of tokens, and then you had the cards, character sheets, because you were supposed to make a bunch of characters because it says that you die very often in that game. And Birthright would need to be sold in that kind of set where you're going to have an overland hex map. You might have a battle grid with paper chits for units and such. And then Birthright used a lot of card mechanics for battle resolution and wounds. So I can see from like a tactile set. I know our friend Crossface, for as much flack as 5.5 got, I do think that he said, like, from a bare bones, unbiased perspective of what the 5.5 starter set is, it's a good box. It's not as good as, because there was 2 starter sets for 5th edition, and he did. I want to say it was the first one to come out. He said you missed out if you missed that box, because that box is a infinite long campaign that you can run straight out of the box. You never got the same value for any other thing. But then he did say, if I remember correctly, he said that the newest box, as far as a component standpoint, the components are really well made, should be durable. And if you get something like that, where people can learn how to play the more wargaming aspect of Birthright, and if you can find a way, because if I understand correctly, the newest box used the Keep on the Borderlands.
Yep,
is that right?
So if they did do a re-release of Keep.
Yeah. So if they can find a way to keep on the Borderlands 5.5. So if they can find a way, yeah. So D&D's 5.5e starter set will be Keep on the Borderlands. If they can find a way where they can expand that starter set into something like Birthright, because you have a keep, you're maintaining it. I think that they can get a lot of people who maybe had bought that starter set and then forgot about it. They might pick it up to complete the set, or it might be the push that takes them over, that brings them from being like, oh well, yeah, it's just another D&D. We bought the box, we used the components, but then we never really revisited it. I think that would be a good way to do it. But is the market share there? Because I think Birthright lends itself a lot to, kings and tyrants, bloodlines, and I don't know. I think a lot of stuff is going to hinge to see how normies are going to receive Dark Sun, and whether that's non-internet normies or even just like run of the mill. Yeah, and no disrespect to these people, but sometimes I think about reverting to one, just like NPC X user, where I'm really just there to get the news and not there to interact and do all the other stuff.
Well, I do think in part there is some. I do think in part you are starting to see that taking over in a touch, because just look at the rise of Warhammer. Like, it just is in terms of like a gameplay, like there's absolutely an audience for like that kind of grimdark setting. So much so that Catalyst Games Labs tried to steal that shtick with BattleTech.
Yeah,
BattleTech Gothic.
Mm-hmm.
And we both talk about one-page rules, grimdark future.
I think it does seem kind of like a fumble, because they did the Magic Gathering Commander release for 40K, and it doesn't seem like we got anything. And I know that for Games Workshop, it was more about what they can get from the deal than what they can give Hasbro. And I think Hasbro was just happy to get that market share of people who they don't have time to play a 2,000 point game of 40K. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Warhammer 40K. I mean, with the Fortniteification that Wizards of the Coast, so, and I can't blame them. They've seen a lot of success with it.
Yeah, as much as I criticize that, and I trust me, I have ever since the days of the Walking Dead cards like 10 years ago. It's made them way too much money to not do. You know, if I'm sitting in that boardroom and I'm looking at the numbers, it's like I would say it, but I'm like, guys, yeah, you have to keep doing this. It's making too much money.
If they would do it right, like I do think that, like, so I work with electricians, and even somehow they learned about Black Aragorn and Frumpy Eowyn before I told them. You know what I mean? If my coworkers want to learn something nerdy, they always come to me. And they were like, I heard they made Black Aragorn and Frumpy Eowyn. And I'm like, that is correct. And they're like, that just seems so disrespectful. And, you know, for better or for worse, if they just would have stuck to original, what people conceive as traditional Lord of the Rings aesthetic, they would find themselves to be a lot more successful and have a lot more like grace from the player base, whether they're normie or not. But like Magic the Gathering is even like, for as much as we think that Dungeons and Dragons is like propagated to like abnormal levels of fan base, it does seem like Magic the Gathering is even more so, which really surprises me. And I think that's just because it's so much easier to get into Magic than it is Dungeons and Dragons. You buy one box and you're playing.
But the difference is, though, like, to stay. The sad reality is, when you're actually in it and you're playing it, it's actually cheaper to play Warhammer.
No, I believe you. That's why I got into war games. The constant cardboard turn killed me.
I've been selling cards off left, right, center, selling off bulk stuff. Like, I sold a bunch of my old Magic stuff to a buddy. I basically funded my Tau army off that.
Yep, I've heard that. And that's what I did. I finished out my Mark III troll list selling Magic singles. I think the only Magic set that I wish I would have picked up when I had the chance was the Plane Chase anthology, because I picked up the Dual Deck anthology volume 1, and I left those decks as they are, and they exist with the rest of my board games, and I've taught my kids how to play, and they're like, we should buy more Magic cards. And I'm like, shh, my sweet summer child, you know not of what you speak. That is the best the game is going to get. But I was a huge fan of the Popper and the Plane Chase formats. And when they had the Plane Chase anthology set, I was moving from El Paso. I was ETSing, and I just did not have the room to hold on to it or the money, because Did
you ever get a chance to play Arch Enemy?
I did not, no.
Ooh, 3v1, where you just have these cards that say, you slap your dick on the table and and spin it around. Whoever it faces at is enjoying the taste of sausage.
Oh my gosh, no, I couldn't. I like double-headed.
If anything, do yourself a favor. Like, there's like apps out there where you can just like do the cards, so you could just enjoy it for what it is. I on occasion would sit down with some buddies and be like, yeah, we'll do Commander, and we'll throw in Plane Chase for the heck of it.
You know, my brother Ray is to this day still a big Magic fan, and he's got a tabletop simulator. It's not mod; it's like one of the community workshop things. But have you ever heard of Tabletop Simulator on Steam? Yeah. So he's got a tabletop simulator community workshop where you go to a third-party net listing app for Magic the Gathering, and then you load it into this community workshop, and it'll make your Magic the Gathering deck. And I've long thought about running tabletop simulator Magic the Gathering tournaments on Rumble, and just being like, we're going to do everything up to 9th edition. You know, you can use everything from here to ninth edition, because I think that was my favorite time of the game. Like I really liked Innistrad. I thought that was a fun setting to go to. Return to Ravnica was fun. Theros was okay.
That was about the era right where I was jumping in.
Yeah. See, when I first started, I think I was really young when the kids on my street got into it. And I remember like the first Unhinged set. I remember the first venture into Ravnica. And then I was really into Kamigawa. And then I brought it to my high school because all of my friends in high school, they played Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, and they hadn't heard of Magic the Gathering. And I remember sitting down in TCG Club, and the kids were like raging at each other because they would get these one-turn kill Yu-Gi-Oh decks, and they're like, "You're not allowed to play that card." And it's like, "Well, actually, I am, but you need to be like this and that." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Have you guys ever played Magic the Gathering? And I got them hooked, and I had been collecting cards with chore money for years. And I made the first couple of decks, and then we got like a windfall from one of the teachers who was like, "Oh, you guys are actually playing a real card game." And we got all the Magic sets, and yeah, so like ninth edition, I remember like the different core sets, like the 2010 core, 2011 core, because I graduated in 2011, so that was about the time that I got really heavy into TCG Club. And I would like to run a tournament up till that point. I think I wouldn't necessarily be interested, and obviously I'd run like a standard tournament. Like I said, I've never been a fan of Commander. It just didn't really get me going. Well, but maybe
Commander was fun. Commander was fun when it was run by the community before Wizards of the Coast took it over, and then just proceeded to release multiple sets per year geared solely at Commander.
Yep.
When they knew they could like milk this.
What was the Magic the Gathering news? Because I heard a lot about the Dungeons & Dragons news, but I didn't hear any Magic the Gathering news from Gen Con.
I'm not too sure about that, but I know that, for example, this weekend The Hobbit is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And later this year is the Star Trek set. So it's like we get the double dose of the IP infusion, but it's like really, I've got my doubts about Star Trek. I don't see Star Trek being the big needle pusher that they think.
I remember being able to talk about Magic the Gathering and being like, "Oh yeah, so then I Ravenous Rats him to death because that's the card that breaks the 4 of a kind rule." But now I saw a meme the other day where it's like, so yeah, then I had Captain Picard wield Foe Hammer under Quicksilver Ring into his Leonardo with turbo powered skateboard, and I won the game. And I'm like,
what does Patrick Star?
Yeah, what does any of that mean?
It's like, apparently Magic might be getting a World of Warcraft set next year.
Yeah, it seems like it was in the cards. Oh, I did see, because Diversity and Dragons did say that they're going back to the oh my goodness, the Zahir setting. And it seems like they forgot all about Urza and like Urza's rage going through Zahir. And it was funny because I was like, yeah, I remember during the Zahir block, and that's when we got Invoke Prejudice and that unfortunate card art and the unfortunate card number. And that guy is pretty funny, but we also got some really good bangers of cards with like the Crusade cards, where all white creatures and then all black creatures get this and that. And it's like, oh yeah, we banned those cards. And I'm like, oh, very nice for you to ban those cards. And then now you're going to do a new Zahir set, and it's all like techno Wakanda. And I'm
almost kind of glad they're like not going the Coyote and Crow route.
Right.
Of like, basically Native American Wakanda. Like, oh yes, we're just magic. We're gonna have magic Indians, yo. But if you did want to see what's going on with magic, well, they're kind of the art is still kind of going in that same direction, where it's basically it's always the same fucking hairstyle too, where it's either side shave or it's the braid, but it's still that the side of this with the side of the hair, the one side of the
Yeah.
head is basically shaved or brought tight and short, and it's draped over the other side. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get a lecture, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the you may not play this card if you have more privilege than your opponent. And that's like now a tournament rule, or if you are a black-skinned American, you get 1 extra mana matching the color of your commander. Like they really do have the opportunity to like bring back Unhinged and Unglued and do some like really funky shit with it that could be really considered racist, but no balls. So I'm gonna have to get going here myself because I do have to cook myself some pizza before I go. But White Shark Magazine. If you're not a fan, you should be, and I really appreciate you guys for putting that link in the chat earlier. But I got to interview this fella Phoenix, who does Panda Sub on Rumble, and I really can't wait for you guys to read that interview. He's definitely a happy soldier. I love watching his streams. He's very fun to hang out with. And he brought up the point, not to spoil the interview, where he's like, it's never been a better time than now to make the thing that you want to make, because there are so many people out there who are just desperate for something that really makes them feel good about engaging with, because they've just been told that they need to feel terrible about it. That squandering this time to not buy into the market share and garner a fan base that needs you to do that. You're missing out on a terrible chance to really do something cool and to do something great. And for all you Mechpit pilots out there, oh yeah, you'll have to forgive me for being petty. Sharky won the lottery and was just like, hey, no, don't worry about it, Patty. I don't have to have a job anymore. I can take on more responsibilities. He was like, hey, Patty, I won the lottery and I'm going to disappear for a little while. So I'm like, oh, well, then I'm going to be petty. And I can't call the magazine White Dwarf Magazine because it's White Dwarf Summer, but I can call it White Ginger, which is really funny because I'm not even white. I'm polka dotted.
So he's actually going to come back.
I'm bullying him. I'm sending him emails that I haven't answered. I'm spamming him on Discord. I know my friend Minka is she's kind of happy with her crown. Minka Goblin, Minka Odysseus on X. She's kind of riding the high of being crowned Queen of the Chuds in the Sharky Discord. And then my other buddy Doge, Christian, that poor guy. He's going through some stuff. I don't know if I'm at liberty to discuss, but he's going through some stuff and he's like, that motherfucker Sharky. And of course he'd win the lottery during Shark Week, that piece of shit. I love him so much.
As it was foretold.
Sharky is
everything's coming together. Like Asmongold is returning to his roots and going to play Nurgle. Sharky's winning the lottery during Shark Week. I don't know, it is, by the way, guys, it is a fun little space on like Twitter where just people showing off their minis and models. And of course, I'm going to show this one because, it's my own, and I'm posted up here. My own little turf god, I posted up as I'm kind of like learn to play with a bit more paints. I'm going to start trying some highlights a little bit, some layering. Sick. But
I love that. I want to paint this guy, and I want to paint him just like that. Them purples. This is the one-page rules. I think the version of that, but I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I can pull up a whole conversion list thing, but
no.
But yeah, no. Really,
that was cool.
On that. Oh, thank you. Which, by the way, we have the new 2-player set got announced for OPR.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh yeah, let me pull that up for you. because we have a new 2-player starter set coming out called Jade and Claw.
And who does that got in it? It's got
The Eternal Dynasty and the Alien Hives.
Saurian. Oh, is it Alien Hives? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, Jade Claw. I thought for sure they were going to put Saurians in there again, but I guess they weren't going to get away with that, were they?
And not only that, just there's about a few seconds of it in here, but we got a little bit of animation.
Nice.
Yeah, let me show that briefly.
What? Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch that again. You know what's really cool is Artist Empire. Artist Empire does those miniature paintovers. Have you seen those?
No, you'll have to share that with me.
So he did the miniature paintovers for some of Snarling Badger's games. But he takes pictures of miniatures, and here's the best one right here. I believe he did the cover for this, the Dead Zone book. So these are pictures of actual miniatures, and he paints over them to make them look like like a painting. So here's the set together.
What was his name, by the way?
Artist Empire. And so if you take really good pictures of your miniatures, and he'll tell you like if you could find a way to take the picture from like the feet upwards so he can hide the base in the painting. But yeah, so he does miniature paintovers, and that looks like they used that that kind of technique for that trailer. So that was just something that I thought of, and I thought it looked really cool.
There we go, found him.
Yeah, cool guy. And if you follow him, every once in a while he does like a free miniature paint over Friday, and if you've got some cool minis, man, he'll do you up like a really cool, like he loves it when you have like modded pieces, like if you've done kit bashes and such. So that's what that trailer looked like. It looked like one of his paintovers that somebody put into like Moho Studio and then animated. And it's something I really want to learn for making really, because when I make my own games, I really want to make videos like that. So I think it's really cool.
But with that said, I think we've gone well over time. But it was just too much fun tonight.
Ginger Mafia represent. Thanks for reaching out, man. I'm really glad that you did.
Yeah. We got to do this more often. I put you into the Mechpit chat, group DM thing. So if you ever happen to have the time free, you want to come hang out and see what sort of insanity we're getting up to, we can make something work. We can definitely talk about some more OPR, especially when that thing goes live. I think we're gonna sit down and probably. Yeah, why don't we do that? When it does come closer, we can talk about that and kind of talk about the little bit of the hobby, a little bit of that stuff.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, I would love to get some painting too. So that would be a great time to get some OPR out, and I could finish painting my dwarves.
Well, with that said, Patty, you got anything you want to promote on your way out?
Mostly White Shark Magazine. Please do that. And you made a link to my Fourth Wall shirt, my Fourth Wall site. I'm doing a couple of fundraisers. I'm really hoping to beat my record from last year was technically $500 because of a matching donation, but that's actually $250. We're raising money for Preborn. If you're interested in that, you just got to follow me on X. Other than that, yeah, the White Shark Magazine and my Fourth Wall shop. Those are where a lot of cool stuff is happening.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, go out and buy that shirt because that thing looked great.
Thanks. Yeah, I wish I had that one in there.
I might be eyeing it up tomorrow on payday.
Yes, thanks.
It all worked out in the end. But
very cool.
Tomorrow, speaking of, I do a little bit of show on Tuesday afternoons called Talk Hard, where I hang out with some friends, including Stone Loki. I hung out with in the chat up above. And tomorrow we're going into some a little bit of toxicity. We're going to be getting into some of the classics. We're having a toga party, and we are talking Animal House.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. We got some people. We got a mix of people who come in. Some have never seen these movies before. Other people are just quoting them all. Just boom, 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 boom. You never know what quite to expect. And I also like to throw in a couple of terrible recommendations in the mix. Like I'm like, hey, let's watch Shark Side of the Moon.
I haven't heard.
Terrible
I'm gonna have to
movie.
write that one down.
Oh,
I haven't heard of that one yet.
it's on Tubi. I think the official X account for it follows me because I've talked about it a few times.
Nice.
A lot of fun. It's dumb. You'll have a blast with it. But guys, thank you everyone for coming on out. I want to thank Vincent Womack for dropping those links and helping me out at doing what he does. I appreciate you so much, sir. Guys, be good yourselves. Take care. Remember, the week's just getting started, so take it easy. Have some fun. Remember, go pick up a paintbrush. Don't drink that water and don't lick that brush. With that said, take care.
Guys, what if we're the bad guy?